Hey everyone, welcome into this first edition for the Wave News Extra live streams for 2026. And of course, on the first Friday, happy to see that as we're also wrapping up a pretty quiet evening, but still talking about some chilly temperatures, which of course we'll look forward to breaking down in a little more detail with the storm tracking team a little later tonight at 11. Always invite you to join us then and appreciate you connecting with us here in the Wave Now studio, whether that's through the app on your smart TVs at home or on social media, and just kind of break down, as I like to say, the big stories of the day, the things we're confirming, investigating, double checking, and letting you know exactly what is going on. So always very much appreciated. We're going to begin with kind of a pattern in the stories, but needless to say, for one neighborhood in Louisville, and there was a day after a man was hurt in a New Year's Eve shooting, another person was shot just a block away. Now, to show you exactly the place we're talking about, and we found out from police the suspects were wearing masks and had guns, but this was a robbery at the corner store at Denmark Street and Cliff Avenue. We know this happened around 9 at night. At least two people wearing masks walking in, holding store workers at gunpoint. Our Logan Perone says that he talked to a couple who told him that they saw these suspects right after the shooting. And so here is our Logan Perone's report from this afternoon.
For the second straight day, LMPD is investigating a shooting on Denmark Street. Police say two people, armed and masked, held the employees of the neighborhood grocery store at gunpoint Thursday night. Josephine Ross and her husband say they showed up just as the suspects left the building.
He said, they're up to no good. They had masks on, shoving rifles under their coats, and they ran out of the door, right across here, right in between, right here.
Both the couple and police say the suspects ran through an alley across the street, lined with several cameras from nearby homes and a church. Business was back to normal Friday morning. The man working the counter tells us the clerk working Thursday night was shot in the stomach and is recovering in the hospital. Security cameras inside the store did record the suspects on video, but the business did not agree to release that video to us.
The young kid that was in there, he was shook up. He was like, they got all my money, and I thought I was going to get shot too.
Ross and her husband used to live just down the road from the store, but have since moved out of Jefferson County. They still want to see LMPD arrest the suspects.
They're good people. They know the neighborhood people around here, so hopefully they catch these guys pretty quick.
That was our thanks to our Logan Perone, who met this couple and was out there getting this information out in the Wyandotte neighborhood. Now, LMPD's robbery unit is investigating, not the homicide, because, again, to our knowledge, this wasn't someone where anyone was killed, but they were shot. And anyone, by the way, with information about what happened, they're urged and asked to call the anonymous tip line if they think that could help police find who was responsible. Now, again, the context of this being the second shooting on Denmark Street in the past 24 hours, and a woman is in jail after police say that she shot a man during a New Year's Eve celebration. And this kind of puts you in somewhat of a perspective, although this still may not have the zoom in effect we're looking for, but just to put you more or less in the same geographic area. It happened a block away from this robbery at the Food Mart. Police saying that a man showed up to U of L Health St. Mary Hospital after he was shot in the leg. Investigators believe that bullet was fired from a home on Brentwood Avenue. And in the end, 34-year-old Flor Orantes was arrested and charged with assault. An arrest report says security video from the area showed her shooting into a fence on Brentwood in the direction of Denmark Street. A man going to a New Year's Eve party in a garage was apparently shot in the leg. Orantes admitting to police that she was intoxicated, took her sister's gun into the backyard. She is being held on a $50,000 bond and is expected back in court on January 9th. In more of some stories I want to share with you tonight, Louisville has suspended the liquor license that belongs to the American Legion Post in the this is the American Legion Post on Greenwood Avenue. Just to take you to the location out there, some yellow stickers are now stuck on the entry doors ordering liquor sales to cease. The suspension follows a shooting inside the bar around 2 a.m. New Year's Day. Police found a 50-year-old woman hurt by a gunshot. She was taken to the hospital, and in this case, detectives are handling the investigation, and we'll see who is facing the charges for their share of the responsibility in what happened. In more updates, a man accused of kidnapping a teenager from right here in Kentucky, and she was found safe in Maryland very recently. It was just last week, but he is now in a jail extradited from Maryland in the Commonwealth. Prosecutors and police say Christian Delgado, in this case, police saying Delgado, arrived at a facility shortly after midnight. The Rockcastle County jailer confirmed Delgado is being held at the Rockcastle County Detention Center, charged in connection to 13-year-old Winter Wagner's disappearance. She went missing in October from Rockcastle County, and she was just found last week and was able to come home. Delgado faces a kidnapping charge in this case. Now, investigators say Delgado talked to the teen online and drove from Florida to Kentucky to take Winter back in October. A break in the case came the day just after Christmas when Winter called her aunt to tell her where she was. And tonight, we're actually hearing from Winter's father about the safe return of his daughter.
Like I said, I know 9 out of 10 kids in her situation would never made it back out of it, you know. And I feel so overwhelmed and so relieved, and I'm so thankful to God. And she's blaming herself for a lot of stuff that she doesn't understand, you know, because she is a child. She doesn't understand. Other than that, I think she's doing okay. She's ready to come home. She's very ready to come home, she told me.
Now, Delgado made his first court appearance on those kidnapping charges last week, and he told the judge, quote, "This was a huge misunderstanding. Whatever comes next of future appearances, we'll make sure to keep you updated on all the ways you can connect with Wave News." More updates. This is for drivers back home in the metro. Expect to see more temporary closures. It's going to back traffic up on I-71. These are going to be in the daytime. You might have run into these earlier this afternoon, and they're going to extend tomorrow, so Tuesday. North and south reduced to 1 lane from 9 in the morning to 3 p.m. So tomorrow will be the second day that crews will have done this work in both these windows. Yeah, they're still trying to shift traffic in preparation for widening the actual interstate. Again, you've heard us talk maybe ad nauseum, but this is part of a pretty massive project, the $50 million worth one for Louisville. It also includes demolishing and reconstructing the I-71 bridge over Beargrass Creek. This project should be all completed by the fall of 2027. And an update of some sad news in the world of horse racing and Derby history in and of itself. Diane Crump, the first woman to have ever ridden in the Kentucky Derby, has died. Her family confirmed to us at Wave News that she passed yesterday after a battle with brain cancer. Back in 1970, she was on Fathom to compete in the Derby, who managed to qualify despite being a long shot. Crump was 77 years old. Right now, we're working to get more perspective from our insiders in the horse racing world who understood and may have stories of Diane and just what it meant to know that her story was one that was breaking a glass ceiling and it stands out over the course of Derby history. And so we're hoping to get some more of that for you as we continue working into the night. Hopefully our reporter Meredith Lee working to get some of that perspective from folks commenting on what Diane Crump's story means for the history of the Derby in and of itself. We're going to be back with many more stories to share with you here on Wave News Extra. So we're going to take a quick break and be right back. All right, everyone, we're back here for more Wave News Extra. Quick shout out to Tanya saying hello from Madison, Indiana. Thank you, Tanya. Hope you're having a good evening as well. Appreciate everyone also joining us on the different channels. Again, we're here those weeknights, Monday through Friday for the most part. Again, holidays are a bit of that crazy time where you're taking breaks on and off. And certainly we'll all be back to a little bit more of that routine once you feel at least from this weekend moving forward, trying to get and settle back into that normal expectation of workflow, so to speak, and certainly for school. So yeah, appreciate you all connecting with us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, X, and on the Wave Now app. Here is a bit of a troubleshooters update, and pretty significant in the saga of the Jamie Knowles story. For those of you who have been following for the years that our troubleshooters have been staying on top of this, we just learned this afternoon. This was a signature on Christmas Eve from the former Clark County Sheriff, now convicted Jamie Knowles. Well, that signature, in this analogy, wrapping a bow on a settlement agreement between the Indiana AG's office and the Knowles family. A judge approving that today, ordering the release of millions of dollars in restitution. Our Mark Stevens is the one who is confirming all this information for us today, and we just wanted to share that with you. But this money comes from the sale of the Knowles homes, cars, and other items. In fact, it was about a year ago when we saw the first auctions of Knowles seized firearms, Rolexes, and suits, one with his lawyer's face in the lining, which you saw that jacket perhaps just there. The money's now being released from the courts after, again, the judge signed off on the settlement. So we're going to break down some of the finer points for you here. All in all, $2.3 million collected by the courts. This agreement outlines how the money is going to be distributed: $650,000 to the Utica Township Fire Protection District for the wrong that was done to them, nearly $170,000 to cover the cost of the special audit that the state had to do. The money will cover Jamie, Misty, and Casey Knowles' unpaid taxes from the Department of Revenue. Any remaining balance would be paid back to New Chapel EMS, Knowles' former nonprofit that he stole from for years, charging his extravagant lifestyle, which we've done the stories corroborating at least the paper trail of that, to the nonprofit's American Express card. The state could still collect stolen money from some of Misty's jewelry that still hasn't been sold yet. The agreement also bars any of the Knowles from profiting from their crimes in the future. Any profits would have to cover any outstanding amounts on a balance. But again, the settlement wraps a years-long process to investigate, try, bring to court these ill-gotten gains from the Knowles empire that had some fingerprints in a lot of family members. As a status check, too, we know Jamie Knowles, Misty Knowles, still serving time in prison. The final case still has yet to go to trial, and that is of former Clark County Council member John Miller. He has been challenging his case all the way up to the Indiana Supreme Court. The justices involved have not yet decided whether they are going to take this case up. Coming back here in the studio, and a bit of a health watch for folks watching. This year, there is some update on the guidelines for colorectal cancer screenings in Kentucky. And so effective just yesterday, January 1st, Kentucky law is changing to adjust the age recommendations for some patients to go get checked out. It's in the hopes, the lawmakers and the experts were saying, to get people screened sooner and ultimately to save more lives. The new law expands what is defined as high risk and widens the criteria for people to get screened regardless of their relative age or the patient's age at a diagnosis.
What has changed that's new is now any family history of advanced or large polyps is now considered also to be equivalent to cancer. So if you have any first degree, like mom, dad, brothers, sisters that had an adenoma or a large polyp, that now counts as a cancer. And so they've moved the screening guidelines down to 40 for patients like that.
So as the doctor was saying there, patients will now qualify to be screened at 40 instead of 45. Doctors say colon cancer is the leading cause of cancer deaths in men under the age of 45. Doctors also say that being able to screen people who might even have a hint of an elevated risk earlier should hopefully then move the mark of finding cases of early onset colon cancer just a little bit sooner, and hopefully with the added benefit of time to provide the necessary treatment. Bit of a check-in for Indiana tonight, since many counties are also heading back to school next week. And there's going to be a number of education-related issues we're going to be watching out for, certainly of interest to a lot of families and communities in the 2026 session. But the topics include something we've been covering, perhaps in their new versions on the Kentucky classroom side, which is new clauses to stricter cell phone bans, greater focus on STEM investment, addressing school funding. This session will be a little shorter than usual, ending by late February after lawmakers had already convened for 2 weeks in December to see what they were going to do with redistricting. Ultimately, that measure did not pass through the state Senate. Senate bills, though, must be filed by January 9th. House bills must be filed by January 14th. Well, back in Kentucky, there's a story I want to share with you of a fudge shop owner who is turning TikTok fame into a way to actually wipe out student lunch debt. This is the story of Dollhouse Fudge in Lexington, and they've now raised more than $30,000, starting the new year with an ambitious goal of trying to get to $60,000 for the current year. Shop owner Adam Dahl says most of the money comes from videos that he will do on TikTok, but instead of keeping the money here, he decides kids could use the help more than he does.
I decided I don't want to keep that money. I want to take it and do something better with it. And so I chose to pay as much student lunch debt in Lexington as I could, not knowing really what that meant or what that was going to lead me to.
Now, the Fudge Shop has more than 85,000 followers on TikTok for their specific account. Dahl says he expects school lunch debt is maybe going to grow in 2026, but says that he is up for the challenge to try and pay off as much of it as he can in his own community. Now, switching back from Lexington and coming back closer to the metro in Jeffersontown, every year thousands of people visit J-Town and they enjoy what seems to be one of the premier events, and that is the Gaslight Festival. But now the city has a new attraction trying to bring visitors back more often over the course of the year. Wave News reporter David Mattingly has this report with an early look at the community's new amphitheater.
A 2,400 square foot stage, cutting edge lights and sound. And over here, a grassy lawn. Imagine this covered with 1,500 people sitting on blankets. And that's just the beginning of what Jeffersontown's new amphitheater is offering. Years in the making, the new venue is expected to give the East End City something it has been missing, an attraction that brings people into J-Town all year long. Built on the former site of a water treatment plant, the stage and adjoining event space will be the home of live music, cultural programming, and community gatherings. Located on Old Taylorsville Road, hopes are the amphitheater crowds will spur the downtown economy, supporting nearby restaurants, shops, and businesses.
We have the museum, we have everything right down here and all the restaurants, and you're just going to see Jeffersontown light up like on a Friday and Saturday night. Hopefully this is going to be a nightly thing, or at least 3 nights a week.
For people who already live here, the amphitheater is surrounded by a new public park with walking trails, picnic areas, and restrooms. Venue management looks at the facility as an obvious place for concerts and public festivals, but also a place for private corporate events, parties, and weddings. The first acts have not been scheduled yet, but expect the music to start coming from here, possibly as early as February. In J-Town, David Mattingly, Wave News.
That certainly sounds like a sped up, not a sped up timeline, but just feels like, yeah, here we are to start January. February won't be too far behind. Whatever does come of that, if that's of some interest to families who live in J-Town and like to spend time and would look forward to any acts that are starting to get booked in the amphitheater, will be something that certainly we'll stay on top of. If you stay on top of and let us know, could be of some interest to see what all this is generating for the community as we continue through this very early new year 2026. And enjoying right now a quick brief check back in live from our Skytrack camera in Jeffersonville, enjoying the downtown skyline. And green, could be still a festive color if you're thinking of the holidays, but otherwise just enjoying a quiet night of still not almost freezing, because you still see the temperature check there on our graphic at 33 degrees. And checking in a comment there with our Tanya. Thanks, Tanya, for checking in. Hopefully, people who get to go try out once the amphitheater premieres will be something really interesting to check out. All right, folks, we're going to do a quick commercial break to reset and bring you the last round of stories we've got for you tonight here on Wave News Extra. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, everyone. Here we are kind of wrapping up the last round of stories to share with you. And wherever you are, if you're watching this on your tablet, your smartphone, on your TVs, again, always appreciate it that you spend this time in a different method, tool, distillation. I was struggling to find the right words to say, but just otherwise the hard work that we're doing here in the Wave Newsroom, but just to share the stories we're reporting, collecting, gathering, and what's going on in our backyards, just to share those stories with you as soon as we're able to get them, and a different way you can connect with us here online and on digitally. We also talk about, over the course of the different subject matters, that's crime, education, politics, health. Sometimes we do work on our consumer series and share some of that with you. And in today's story I want to share is a bit of a check-in on, maybe you all have heard stories or unfortunately been victims to it recently, of online pet scams. And in a sense, people who come across advertising, sort of the different profiles you might find, on the surface, it could seem like they're legit breeders or rescues, but many are fake listings designed to take money, people's hard-earned money, and then just disappear. So in tonight's Watching Your Wallet, consumer investigator Carice Jackman shows how one man spotted some red flags in one story we're about to share, and what groups that advocate for consumer protections, like the Better Business Bureau, what they say can help you avoid getting scammed in the first place.
Like I said, I wanted to.
When Nashville resident Jonathan King decided he wanted to buy a bull terrier, he started looking online. He found a seller claiming they had a new litter and that the dogs were registered.
They said that they were AKC, American Kennel Club certified, and everything like that.
At first, he says the seller was very responsive.
He told me that it was only going to be like around $700, total of $1,700 for the purchase and vaccinations of the dog.
King says he wondered why the price seemed low, but paid $700 up front as well as a $300 shipping fee. Then he says the seller started adding new fees, pushing the total well over $1,000.
$1,500 here, $1,200 here, $2,000 here. I'm like, what?
King says the messages turned into pressure to pay more. So he started verifying what he'd been sent. Using AI tools and a reverse image search, King says he found a big red flag. The same photo showed up elsewhere online. He contacted the Better Business Bureau.
When I spoke with someone, the representative from the BBB around this particular case, he was telling me that like thousands of people are getting scammed.
According to the Better Business Bureau, the number of pet scam reports have been going down, but are still an issue.
Most people are getting very savvy, though. They're realizing midway through the transaction that this isn't real.
The BBB also warns that fake pet sites and listings can show up through search results or social media and may look legit at first. If you're buying a pet online, remember this: high-pressure messages are a red flag, especially if someone claims an animal will be harmed if you don't pay. If that happens, stop and verify who you're dealing with. As for King, so you were able to get back around $700, right? That's good news.
Yeah, I was able to get the money back. The only drawback from it, though, is like I had to go through this whole situation because I had to get a new card and everything. You know how the bank does, fraud and everything like that.
He's glad he spotted the red flags before sending more money. He says he's still looking for a puppy and hopes sharing his story will help others be more cautious. With us watching your wallet, I'm Carice Jackman.
And so there is a bit of a follow-up to this investigation that Carice did. In a statement sent back from the American Kennel Club, they say reputable breeders or rescues should A, answer questions, and B, let you verify who they are before you pay. The organization also warned against any wire transfers or gift card payments, and that credit cards or PayPal goods and services are typically safer as far as a more reliable means of currency if that's what you're trying to do in obtaining the pet you are looking for. And another update of stories, and we're just going to go through the list here in some cases. Speaking of, unfortunately, animals, but one Louisville man is in jail on charges of animal cruelty. Authorities were doing a welfare check on dogs around this property and found them living in pretty rough conditions. Inhumane, they say. Complaints against David Watkins were made just starting in last April, actually. April of last year. Metro Animal Services officers went to a home on Arcade Avenue to check on several dogs, but Watkins turned those officers away. They ended up trying to do welfare checks 4 separate times, but they say Watkins refused them at each turn. Once they got a warrant at the end of just this past November, LMPD found 7 dogs with infections and wounds. They say 5 of the dogs were chained up. None of them had access to food. All the animals were confiscated, taken to LMAS, and a judge set Watkins' bond at $5,000 full cash. He is due back in court in 10 days. Well, heading over to Jennings County, and the sheriff's office is thanking several first responders for their help in this rescue. And these are the images we're sharing or we're able to grab. This week, multiple agencies worked together to save a woman from the river. This was New Year's Eve, just before noon when it all started. That's when deputies got word that there was something going on at Vinegar Mill in the Muscatatuck County Park. And correct me if I'm saying that wrong, folks. So Muscatatuck County Park, on a report of a woman who was having a mental health crisis. They did not find her, but they found her car first. So they called in almost 24 other deputies, firefighters, and EMS personnel to start combing the area to search. During their search, they spotted the woman. She fell into a nearby river. They lowered her rope down, pulled her out of the water. She should survive. And their last comment and the statement with the picture they shared, the Jennings County Sheriff's deputies thank everyone who took part in this rescue. Tonight, we're sharing another edition in our What's Good series, and sometimes it is about the light, you might say, that shines out of a pretty dark moment and a story that carries a lot of grief with it. And this story does start that way because it's an unimaginable loss. But by the end of this, you might feel that the person we're talking about, a mom, is strong in the face of tragedy and still able to find a path to help others. Wave News anchor Myra Ansari introduces us to her in this latest version or series edition of our What's Good specials.
Ready, buddy? Sit down.
Nothing really stopped him. I mean, he climbed everything.
Good job. Owen Twig loved the things most toddlers do.
So funny. He loved movies. He loved Finding Dory and Moana.
Just like a character from a Disney movie. Can you get down? He faced challenges, but was a fighter. Good boy. Oh, almost. Owen was born with a cleft lip and palate and had a lot of complex respiratory conditions.
It was shocking and scary. My 2 older boys were born happy and healthy.
Mom Carter says Owen was in and out of hospitals. They learned that there was more going on with him than they initially anticipated.
It's like plugging a hole in a sinking ship. You want it to stop. You want it to be better. But new hole springs loose as soon as you fix one.
Owen went through multiple surgeries to help him eat and breathe. While he was in surgery, there were complications.
Owen had been in cardiac arrest 9 times in 3.5 years of life.
By the time he was 1, he spent 278 days in hospitals across 3 states. Genetic testing eventually revealed what was causing his issues.
Kind of find out it's something called Opitz G syndrome.
If you haven't heard of it, it's because it's an extremely rare genetic disorder. It causes midline body defects, primarily affecting facial features and throat structures, leading to breathing and feeding issues. With the condition so rare, the path forward for Owen was unclear.
And I remember being that mom on that side of the bed, just scared and asking so many questions.
The mom guilt hit hard. The reality of what the future would be like set in.
I kind of knew in the back of my mind that I would probably never teach him how to drive. I'd never take him to prom, see him graduate high school, things like that. So as awful as that is, we made everything memorable.
On September 29th, 2023, Owen went to sleep and didn't wake up. Carter held him in her arms for the last time.
Parents aren't supposed to bury their children, they're supposed to bury me.
When I sat down with Carter, what stood out to me was how calm she was talking about her son's struggles. But don't be fooled, it's not easy for her. Her composure comes from her job training. She was an emergency services dispatcher and an EMT for more than 10 years.
I'm very used to being calm in chaos, and that did help a lot during the process of his, during his journey. But when it becomes your own child, it's completely different. You have to have a good, solid support.
That support came from Owen's respiratory therapy team.
We had so much love and so much support from nursing and respiratory therapists everywhere we were.
The impact so great, it changed the trajectory of her life.
Yeah, I was okay with being an EMT forever. I was okay with that. But yeah, things change, and now isn't the way you expect, that's for sure.
And so we'll use nitric oxide.
Carter decided she wanted to be like the people who helped her and her son.
Open up the airways also.
A respiratory therapist. She went back to school and just graduated.
I've been turning grief into motivation. It's the hardest one I've learned, but it's possible.
Hey, is it okay if I take a quick listen to your lungs? See how you sound this morning? Fantastic.
She's working at Norton Children's Hospital.
Take a deep breath for me.
The same place where Owen spent so much time, alongside the same respiratory therapist who helped him.
I want to take care of people. I want to take care of kids. And I want to take care of moms and dads and help them know that they're not alone.
Now we're back in business.
It's her way of carrying forward Owen's legacy, knowing everything that she's faced will continue to help her grow.
You enjoy the rest of your day, okay?
You too.
I think Owen would be proud of you if he was looking down on Mom.
I sure hope so. Really, really do.
Testament to a mother's love right there. Carter, by the way, she told us here at Wave News that she donated all of Owen's medical supplies to the respiratory therapy program at Ivy Tech, perhaps passing on this knowledge and use to the next generation of people who will need it. Now Owen supplies, again, teaching the next generation of those respiratory therapists. By the way, if there ever is any story that you're aware of, folks, it can be all in all just a net positive, despite adversity, overcoming the grief. But if you know the stories of these folks and these small H heroes, but doing the work they love to do, send them our way. We'd love to, meet them and share their stories with you, the viewing audience, across the digital landscape. And so you could send us an email with that kind of information, or just let us know where to look. It's right there in front of you on the graphic. What's good all together at wave3.com.
Hungry Lord, when did we ever see you?
And we're going to end with this shout out at the Floyd County Library, bringing music every first Friday of the month for their free concert series. Today, we happen to stop by as a group called the Love Sways were playing. They describe themselves as a Kentuckiana-based collaborative playing alternative, folk Americana, and indie styles.
We want to make the library a place for people to come and have something to do outside of just reading a good book, but coming to enjoy some other activities.
And in this case, the community series has been going on for about a decade, and you can always check in with the library to make sure you know what other acts will be coming in over the course of this early first quarter and trimester of the year. A reminder, folks, all the latest stories, breaking updates, troubleshooters updates, original investigations, local stories, and anything beyond and in between at your fingertips right here on the wave3.com homepage. You could scroll down, check all the different tabs for the different categories you might be interested in. And we also can send those push alerts when you download the free Wave News app, the free Wave Weather app, to get that information depending on where you are and your settings, adjustments, the things you want to be alerted to. All very easy to do, and that way you could stay connected to all the great work that we're doing. And in this case, like in the What's Good series, shouting out what's going on that's great in our community. And in other cases, letting you know what's going on so that you stay safe and you know the decisions that might impact you, your life, and for those around you. That's going to do it for us tonight as we hit the clock just before 8:41. Appreciate you, everyone. We'll be back next week for the next update on stories to share with you over the course of our Monday nights through Friday nights. And so with great appreciation for that, I'm Jose Sosaya in the Wave Now studio. Hope you join us tonight. Again, there should be a regular newscast with those story updates and the forecast from the storm tracking team at 11 o'clock on the Wave News channel, NBC channel in and of itself. So I hope to see you then and there. Until then, take care. Appreciate your time.